All right, so we'll kick today off with a game. This first game is called Real or Fake, and it's going to be worth 5 points. There's going to be a really awesome prize at the end for the winner. I'll be keeping score as we go. So we've got 3 headlines here, 2 of which are real and 1 of which is fake. The job for you all is to guess which one is fake. So headline number 1, Madewell now sells video chat friendly jewelry. Headline number 2, scientists are growing psychedelic cotton in the lab. And finally, headline number 3, teen hacks drone to deliver newspapers for his paper route. So whenever you're ready, just fists up and we'll do rock, paper, scissors style. And then just shoot 1, 2, or 3 corresponding to whichever one you think is the fake headline. So just fists up when you're ready. Awesome. We'll do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, so we got 3, 3, and Rema is out of 2.
I want to believe that 3 is true, you know.
So the fake headline is in fact number 3. Teen hack drones to deliver newspapers for his neighborhood paper route. So that is 5 points for Kate and 5 points for Nikita. All right. So today we've got 3 lovely guests. So I'll each have go around and give a short 280 character intro. Kate, you want to go ahead first?
Sure. My name's Kate. I'm a principal at Homebrew. We're a seed stage venture fund. Prior to Homebrew, I spent about 5 years at Uber and another 4 years before that at Goldman.
Awesome. Nikita, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nikita. I'm an investor at RE Ventures. We're a early stage seed, Series A, occasional Series B, out in New York. I actually met Kate when I sat next to her at a dinner. So we had good times. So it's nice to see her again over the screen.
Good to see you too.
And thanks for having us on. This is a really fun format, Wiz.
Thank you. Rema?
Hi, my name is Rema. I'm the CEO of Near Space Labs. We provide balloon-based stratospheric imagery, and our mission is to democratize access to aerospace and geospatial data.
Awesome. Cool. Well, before we jump into the first headline, I just wanted to share with everyone watching that all of the headlines that we go through today came from a newsletter I work on called This Week in Creative Tech. Anyone can sign up at bit.ly/join Future Fridays. So we'll start today off with headline number 1, which is in-ear nerve stimulating device helps people learning a new language. So what this headline is about is a new in-ear device that stimulates the vagus nerve without the use of surgery. And the researchers have found that this can actually help people learn unfamiliar sounds in new languages. So let me put it out to you all. I mean, we all know that there's many different learning styles. People learn better in different ways. There's all kinds of new tools and techniques that have been used to assist learners as they try to learn new things. How do you all think that technology can continue to change how we learn and absorb information? I mean, will we see a world where things like nerve stimulation be added to the classroom of the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think back in the day, I would have welcomed technology that would help me study all that calculus that I did, for example. And this also gives me a lot of like Trinity and Matrix vibes that, you know, she learned to pilot the heli like in a second. So it's a lot of fun and interesting. I think a few thoughts there. I'm really curious to kind of understand what the long-term effects on the brain would be from, you know, all kinds of like metabolism, nutrition perspectives, like if we really stimulate the brain that much, what happens to the body in general. So I'm really curious to dig into that. But, you know, as someone who studied, like speaks 3 different languages, I really appreciate, you know, this technology that can help do that quickly and kind of learn and get into new cultures very quickly. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah, I echo that. I only speak 1 language, even though I've tried to learn many other languages and failed every time. And so I think anything that kind of helps people speed up their learning or make learning more accessible or faster is definitely something that should be adopted. Hopefully, this sounds expensive right now, so hopefully it eventually gets to the point where classrooms can adopt it.
Yeah.
Do I have to answer too? I mean, I can. I just didn't. You wanted to do 3 for every headline.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any thoughts, definitely jump in.
Oh, sure. I'll keep it quick. I mean, we have seen companies like Neuralink and Control Labs get into the neurotech space, and a bunch of those companies have been acquired, as well as being incubated from the Elon Musk, right? I think that the great thing about science fiction is that it's democratized access to ideas like this, that there is a frontier for people believing that it can happen and it will happen. And we are seeing so many companies, there's a bunch of research labs at different universities working on technology like this. So I 100% think that we'll get to a world in which hopefully soon, maybe in the next 30 years, 50 years, maybe even less than that, where it will be as easy as wearing something or maybe getting something implanted to drive faster learning. Also, my apology. Sorry, I realize I have a bitty nice phone dinging in the background.
No worries. Future generations will be picking up. Yeah, future generations will be picking up Spanish and calculus much easier than we did in the future. Cool. Let's move on to headline number 2. This one will resonate for Rema, our New Yorker on the call. Headline number 2, New York City subway system asks Apple to improve masked Face ID. So what this headline is about is that a lot of people were taking their masks off to open their phones with Face ID. So this subway system actually sent a letter to Tim Cook asking him to update the software to improve the facial recognition features. Question for you all, should private companies be compelled to alter their products to benefit public safety?
I think it depends, like, what extent, right? There's certainly precedents for something like this, with like seat belts and airbags in cars. But that said, a city authority asking companies to make something a little bit more convenient for public standards, like, it's not that hard to type in your passcode. That seems like a little bit of an overreach to me.
I think I agree. Like, I think we're really being ridiculous about masks in general. It's not that hard. I mean, it's not pleasant, obviously, during summertime, but I think it's okay.
I agree with Kate. I've been using my keypad every time I go out.
All right. Usually we have a cartoonist who joins us and shares cartoons live, but she wasn't able to make it today, but she has sent some cartoons in advance. So I'm going to share them now and we can have a look at what she drew for us. 1 second. All right, so here's the first one. I paid a lot of money to find out the nail ladies aren't actually talking about my feet. Second one is, it understands 12 languages, but still can't speak sarcasm, which is a good tie to the last one.
After calculus.
Totally. All right, we'll move on to the next headline. 1 second. Usually it's smoother when she just shares her screen. Okay, headline number 3 of the day is unused microchips, motherboards, and other electronic ways to make this upcycled watch tick. So this article is about a company called Volleybak that has basically made a watch out of electronic garbage. What's interesting about this, and I didn't realize the extent of this, but according to the article, the world produced 53 million metric tons of only electronic waste last year. And I tried to understand what 53 million metric tons actually means. So I started doing a little digging. So 1 metric ton is about the size of a small car. So 53 million small cars of just electronic waste last year alone. A 747 is about 350 metric tons. So we're talking 150,000 747s of electronic waste. I don't even know what that looks like. Last one, the Eiffel Tower is about 10,000 tons. So 5,000 Eiffel Towers of electric waste, which is it's just absurd. Putting it out to you all, should tech companies, and I mean more broadly, just any company, be held more accountable for the waste that's created by by what they're putting out, but even like, I guess with tech companies, there's so many upcycling to new models, you know, where like you get like the new iPhone comes out and the other one's obsolete and like it becomes part of this 53 million tons. Should companies be held more accountable?
Maybe accountable. Oh, Rema, you want to go ahead?
No, go for it. Sorry.
Accountable in some ways, sure. I think the concept of planned obsolescence, like we all know it, that I think gets taken to an extreme with certain companies where you have to buy every single new type of charger in order to use your new computer, and we all know what company I'm talking about. That is a little bit ridiculous to me, and a perfect example of actually creating, like, that is a very deliberate way to create waste that doesn't actually need to exist. And I think people are more aware of being more aware about how we're treating the climate and that our resources are scarce. So hopefully companies like that are going to be paying a little bit more attention about not just how do we, to be more aware about our impact. But other than that, there are a lot of really interesting recycling programs that a lot of these tech companies have. Apple actually contracts, Apple, Microsoft, Verizon, like a bunch of these giant tech companies that have a lot of hardware involved are actually contracted with a huge number of recycling programs, which I don't think is super visible to people. But anytime you go in and return or upgrade your phone, and they say bring in your old phone and you can trade it in for a new phone, there are companies in the background that actually work to recycle those products, recycle those parts, but also to send them and distribute them across the world. So there are ways that these companies are actually paying attention to recycling. I just don't think it's a super visible part of what they're doing, but they should actually, I think, articulate it a little bit more, because I wish people knew.
I had no idea.
There's a company called Hyla. I'm plugging one of our own portfolio companies, but they do this actually for a lot of telecommunication companies. Yeah.
I actually love the watch. I wish it had, fitness tracking. I would buy it for sure. Someone is actually, building a company with hardware that flies in space from the ground up. I feel like, things like modular hardware where you can actually change pieces of the hardware, or like multi-purpose devices and hardware, is actually very fascinating for me. Also because I understand how challenging that is. Like, building something that is elegant and modular at the same time is really like crazy challenging. The fact that MacBook or iPhone are so sleek is because it's really a monolith, right? So it's easier to do it that way than like be able to plug and play, because there are plug and play phones that actually are pretty bulky and like it doesn't fit in your pocket, etc. It's not comfortable to use. So I feel, but I think in the future we're going to be able to move towards like modular hardware devices, hopefully. I think that's kind of one of the interesting things that can happen. In general, this is a very, like, we don't speak about this topic a lot in tech industry. I think we should talk about it much more, because the labor involved in like all these recycling sites is actually very heavy. These are toxic, device, like some of the stuff is really toxic for people. So I feel like all of that needs to be more transparent to us users and also to the companies that build those things. So hopefully think about those effects too.
I would echo that. And I think like the other thing is, I wonder how much of that waste is really caused by consumers getting rid of their phones and computers, and how many are corporations and enterprise and industry. And like, we see that trend with plastic, we see that trend with everything. And I think like it's important to not get distracted from like pushing for corporations at like their own usage to take responsibility, rather than encouraging like your friend to recycle their used phone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another great corporate angle. I didn't even think about that side. Awesome. We'll move on to headline number 4 of the day. This one is Dapper Labs has sold $1.2 million worth of digital NBA cards on its native blockchain flow. So Dapper Labs originally came out with Crypto Kitties, which many of you have probably heard of. This is their new product called NBA Top Shot, and it's basically a blockchain-based token that will attempt to capitalize on the sports world's fixation with collectibles. The app also includes a peer-to-peer marketplace for trading the tokens once you procure them, just like you could trade basketball cards. let me ask you all, are we moving from collecting physical goods to digital ones? Will virtual assets provide the same monetary, social, or even display value that our real world items hold?
I'm happy to jump in and talk about this because I love the idea of non-fungible tokens, and I particularly like it around the idea of provenance. So when you extend, I think it's for some people a little bit hard to conceptualize, why does anyone care that I own a digital version of an NBA card, like a baseball card you would have owned X years ago when trading that was a thing. A really easy way to think about it, and is maybe more, or it's more a crystallized example for everyone, is art, the art world, right? Like whatever things get passed along, there's this idea of provenance of who owned this before you, is it signed documentation, etc. But that's just one part of it, because that's expensive too, and it's really important to know the actual value of your assets, that you can prove this Monet or this Picasso or this Gorky, whatever is owned, actually came from those artists and it's not fake. But what if you could actually give back money to those artists? So if I'm a contemporary artist today, the only time I make money is in the first transaction, the first time anyone ever buys anything. What if I could actually say, anytime this piece of art is sold, I get a 2% or a 5% commission on that art? So if my art originally that was worth $10,000 is now worth 10 million today, I get to receive some value of the work that I have put out into the world. And that to me is a really compelling reason to be excited about fungible tokens for creators, but also for an owner who can say, this is really the asset that I think it is, and it's therefore actually really worth the thing that I say it's worth.
I have a bit of different perspective to this. As someone who actually owns a turntable, which is, you know, it's kind of really the opposite. And, you know, I really miss going to the museums actually and interacting with objects, you know, in real life. I recognize that we will be moving towards more like the digital ownership, etc. It's going to happen, but I'm just curious how, especially in like this COVID and isolated world, I feel like we get to appreciate physical goods a bit more. At least I do. So it's kind of a bit different, non-super techie perspective to this.
I think like looking at the way kids buy skins on Fortnite, it's like it has to be digital assets are going to be a thing. Like I feel like they're a little silly and like I don't really understand them, but I also don't really understand why kids used to collect baseball cards. It's just like not for me. I think what is interesting is digital assets inherently feel like less rare because there's no concept of caring for the physical object the way there is if like you have an action figure that you keep in mint condition and like that makes it worth more than the one that was taken out of the box once. And so I guess I don't know how that'll impact digital assets, but it's definitely something to think about.
I wish I could. There's also going to be this idea, right, of like owning yourself online and being able to say, this is me. There's a graphic artist I know called Sarah who has this beautiful map of here are all of her social presences across the internet, and of the accounts that she even remembered, right? Because when we were kids, we made all sorts of whatever accounts, like my Neopets accounts are all dying somewhere. She mapped out like 40 different accounts that are hers. But what about when people fake accounts, right? And that if you become more prominent, that happens all the time. How can I actually prove that these accounts are mine and this account is who I say it is, or that kind of thing? The underlying technology of blockchain allows you to do that, but also it is an extension of the non-fungible token.
I'll be selling Wiz playing cards.
Do it. I'll buy one.
All right. Cool. We'll do game number 2 of today. So this one's worth 10 points, which Rema is an opportunity for you to take the lead. So this one is multiple choice. Here we've got a headline with missing blank. One of the 3 options below is correct. The job for you all is to write down which one you think is the correct one. And when you're all ready, we'll just show them to the screen. So scientists are using the moon as a giant mirror to search for aliens, water, or vibranium. So just give me a thumbs up when you're ready, and we'll just show answers to the screen. All right. Nikita, you're ready first. You want to share your answer?
Sure.
Dun, 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 dun. A.
Okay. A.
Actually, this works when everyone shows their answers at once. I'm
Oh.
just so
Okay,
that I know,
okay.
so that I, yeah, because then I'll have to remember. Okay, Kate and Rema, do you guys just want to all show at once, just so that I can keep track? C and B. All right. The correct answer is in fact aliens. 10 points for Nikita, which takes you up to 15 points. So, sorry, 1 second. Correct answer is aliens. This headline is about NASA scientists have been using the Hubble Space Telescope to capture light that was reflected off the moon after it had traveled through Earth's atmosphere. And the idea is that they're able to identify whether there's planets that have the same sort of signature based on the
Rita, I
lights.
feel like you should have gotten this one right.
No, right?
Can I donate my points? I want to donate my points to Rema so she has some because I need her to still have credibility.
No, thanks.
I don't think
anyone's
ever. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My thinking was if they search for water, they kind of find aliens.
True.
It's a good point, actually, because part of what they were looking for were like signatures of the atmosphere, and part of that is driven by water. Yeah. So yeah.
80% of the signature of the Earth is actually water.
So I feel like is it aliens? That was just the headline because I feel like water is maybe just an inextricable part of that. So we should also give Rema points, but we should also give Kate points
because yeah.
Sure, no problem. We'll give 10 points for Rema and 10 points for Kate.
We're all gonna tie at the end of this.
Yeah, this is the friendliest game that I've had thus far. All right, headline number 5, down to the last 2. Headline number 5 is these adaptable pods could make you love outdoor dining year round. So this headline is based on a Chicago design firm has developed these conceptual pods as an outdoor dining solution that can withstand changing weather conditions and has things like heating and electrical components. I guess the idea here is, in places like New York right now, outdoor dining is great, but everyone's worried about what happens come October, November, December, January when it gets really cold, right? I guess question to you all, there's a lot of interesting innovations that have come out of the pandemic, like these pods, but it feels like a lot of them are based on sort of helping us adapt to the current situation, but not really thinking about the future. So like these pods sound great in November, December, but people are saying that restaurants, like the economics just aren't working even with outdoor seating. So like, yeah, this like keeps like outdoor seating going, but it's actually not enough to sustain restaurants long-term. Are we focused too much on sort of like short-term solves and not thinking about what like the long-term rework looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I just miss packed NYC bars where you need to shout over 10,000 people so your friends hear you. So it's really.
Which bar do you miss the most? I live in Brooklyn normally.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm blanking right now. How about yourself?
I'll go by area. So I probably miss going out in the East Village a lot, and then just the bars in Greenpoint. I miss, but.
Right. I lived in Greenpoint, by the way, for 6 months.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
The Barge in Greenpoint?
That place is great. I lived in Williamsburg for 6 years. That place is amazing. Yeah.
I lived in Williamsburg as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, concerts and all that good stuff that cannot be replicated with pods. I feel like we need to think about our health in general a bit better, like how do we react better to pandemics? How do we react better to new viruses? Is there more innovation we can do on like vaccines? Is there like a fast-track vaccine situation happening anytime soon? Et cetera, like I'm thinking that we really need more, probably more like tech-driven solutions on that than like adapting to the current situation. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like we're seeing so many things that are like cool and attention grabbing in like the next 6 month space, whether it's like new homeschooling or like the socially distanced concert pods and stuff that's like really interesting to think about. But, you know, I think to Rema's point, like the world is not going to be sustained this way. And hopefully like we can all spend a little more time thinking about whether it's like fast tracking vaccines, fast tracking the way to get Americans to be open to taking the vaccine once it comes out. I think a third of Americans say they won't get it, which is like the scariest thing of all to me. And so maybe there's some more important work that these creative folks can be doing to help with like education there.
Yeah, if you're an architecture firm, you're definitely biased to be wanting to, you know, here's look at this solution. Also, don't forget you can still buy from us, and we will provide you with a service. I agree with Rema and Kate. I'd say on the restaurant side, if I'm a restaurant, I should be thinking about what are ways I can maximize my revenue at a time where it's going to be a challenge. Like the winter's going to be bad. So I should make sure that I'm on a variety of delivery apps and have a delivery network to make that work. So I think it was smart. Some of the decisions Uber has made, right, to go all into delivery, that was really smart because they weren't just thinking about, yeah, let's concentrate the market, because obviously that's part of the calculus, but hopefully they were thinking of COVID, because if things do not resolve itself, people are going to be relying on delivery far more. And that's going to be really great for the Uber stock, and I think for the company to focus some of their attention there. There are also other companies like Olo, which is a bedrock of a lot of these larger restaurant enterprises and restaurants, to provide both the payment side as well as the ordering apps and things like that. So there are solutions out there if you're a restaurateur that you can look to, in addition to being a part of the solution for all things related to public health.
I also want to say, like, I'm just thinking through this as we speak, because, like, will I feel safer to sit in a pod that I know somebody else sat in, and it's kind of outdoor, but really outdoor. But then now when I sit in a restaurant outdoor, I'm really outdoor and I'm further from others. And outdoor transmission, as we know, is not super high. So, like, does it really solve anything, or it's just like, yeah, it's some reactionary, beautiful thing that is not super useful.
Like, it does look like just like a smaller indoor.
Yeah.
Looks like you're more likely to catch COVID. All right, last headline of the day. This one is a private equity firm just bought the largest consumer DNA database. So this headline is about the private equity firm Blackstone purchasing Ancestry, which makes them the new majority owner of the largest consumer database of human genetic and genealogical information in the world, which is a kind of terrifying when you think about it. And that's my question to you all. Should we be concerned about our genetic and genealogical information and how it's managed and sold?
Yes. It's my Westworld title. I'm sorry, like, it doesn't make me super happy. Thankfully, I didn't take those tests, but I think we do. I think we have the right to know how our information is used. Not only our DNA, all our information. That's my point of view.
Yeah, I think it even goes beyond. Well, it doesn't, like, I've listened to enough true crime podcasts to know that it doesn't matter if you took the test. It could be like your third cousin somewhere, and then they triangulate that you were in fact the killer. So in fact, like, it doesn't have to be you. I think it definitely is something that needs to be regulated, though. I don't think like this sale is particularly concerning as much as it highlights things that we all probably should have been concerned about for a while.
I will make the bull case for maybe not this transaction, but the idea of, because I think Ancestry.com has been maybe hesitant to do this, or if they are doing it's in the background, the commercialization of genetic data at scale and more anonymized. That's going to be huge for healthcare, right? When you think about precision medicine or anything related to transplants or things like that, there are huge material applications of genetic data for these things. And I think that Blackstone, because of all the work that they've ever done in pharmaceuticals and life sciences and biotech, could potentially be at a good spot to accelerate some of this stuff. That's great, and hopefully it won't be at a violation of how people feel about their own genetic data. I don't know. Like Rema, I've never submitted anything to any of these databases. I don't want to. Kate, speaking to true crime, totally. But I do know people who found a half brother through, using one of these. And I don't want to, disparage them using it for a reason like that. But a friend of mine grew up in foster home, and that's why he decided to do it and wanted to see what happened. And he found a family member through it. So I think things like that are really great and optimistic, but does anyone read their terms of service? Like, that's not, a real thing. So I have no idea what Ancestry.com or any of these companies actually are saying we will use or we won't use your genetic data for. And you have to be prepared as a consumer, because that falls in your onus to know what they could do with your data. And if hopefully you look at that stuff, or at least you look up at TLDR, or you ask someone, you do a little bit of the work. But that's part of the reason I've never, ever done them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've done, go ahead.
Now we're getting into the sexy discussion about terms and conditions. Like, that's a huge, huge topic, I think. And yeah, people probably don't read and don't dig, but these are also difficult to understand. And sometimes there are a lot of companies that aren't super transparent. Like Twitter does, for example, now Twitter does, and Jack Dorsey speaks about it a lot. Like Twitter does a lot on making all their terms and conditions and stuff very transparent and understandable for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Very simple language. Like, here's how your data is used. Here's who you can complain if you're being harassed, or etc. So there are ways of doing this, and like I feel like 100 pages of legal documents aren't the way. Like,
I agree.
Convey.
Yep.
And giving users some control of like, yes, it's okay to use my DNA for research, but no, it's not okay to have it be used for law enforcement. Like, that's a pretty big difference of things that personally I'm okay with and not okay with. So giving users the choice there too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that Blackstone's going to be the one to be simplifying 100-page terms of services. We'll move on to the final set of cartoons for the day. Let me just turn off this virtual background. All right. So these are both based on the pod headline. So I'm glad we left our studio apartment to go somewhere even smaller.
Oh. Bingo.
And if I knew we'd have this much privacy, I wouldn't have done my hair.
True.
Has anyone done their hair during quarantine though? Like, really?
I did for today. All right, so we're gonna end today on a game, the final game. This one, let me pull it up. This one is worth 10 points, which means basically whoever gets it is the winner for today, since we did the points redistribution. So this one is fill in the blank. Here we've got a headline with a blank. The job for you all is just to come up with something really funny. It's 10 points to whoever makes me laugh the most. So I'll give you guys a minute. Take as much time as you need, come up with something silly, write it down, and then when everyone's ready, we'll just show it to the screen. So, tired of Zoom calls, company offers at-home blank machines.
This is not that easy, actually.
This is the hardest game.
I think we're just testing new stuff on us.
Just thumbs up when you're ready. Rema, you ready as well?
Yeah. Thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Tired of Zoom calls, company offers at home. Okay. Rema, teleportation machine.
I had the same thing. Do we get points for that?
Oh, wow, Jesus.
Wow.
Nikita, do you have the same one?
No, mine was so boring in comparison. I said cocktail.
Cocktail machines,
Foreign
that's pretty
compare,
funny
yeah.
too.
But it's not as good. I wish teleportation is way better. I wish can I take back the points I helped redistribute earlier?
You know what? I loved all of those, and you guys have been such good sports about sharing points. So all of you were winners today, and you will each get a prize.
Yes.
First time in the history of the show where 3 prizes will go out, but happy to do so. The correct headline was, in fact, hologram machines, so not too far off from teleportation. This headline is about a device made by a company called Portal that lets users talk in real time with life-sized holograms of another person with basically the use of these giant phone booth-sized machines. The idea is that you'd step into it for your Zoom call, and on the other side would be a hologram of yourself.
I miss traveling, so we want to figure out a way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Teleportation is, let's get there. I want to get to that one.
Totally. Let's discuss this.
Soon, one day. Cool. Well, that was so much fun. Thank you so much, everyone. For everyone watching, this is where you can find everyone online again. And one last time, all the headlines came from This Week in Creative Tech, bit.ly/join Future Fridays. Thank you so much. This was a really fun episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.